news, and that is the hotel messed up. Right? Who had the hotel messed up? You got to the hotel and they didn't have your name on there? Oh, all right. So that's called job security. See, if they did the job perfect, then the people at the front desk wouldn't be necessary. You could just register online. That's why I'll mess up every once in a while, because that justifies me staying here. See? You don't teach people everything you know, because then sometimes there's not a need for you. You may have been asked to do your credit card when you checked in. I'll make a phone call at the break, and that will be corrected. If you would be nice enough to write your name down, and that your name wasn't on the list when you checked into the hotel, and sometime during one of the breaks give that to me, then I'll call the hotel and we'll get that straightened away. You know, as I've gone to trainings over the years, and I've gone to a lot of them over the years, there's a couple of things that concern me when I come in a room. First of all, it's the unknown. You know, you come in like, where am I going to sit, and what's going to happen, what material. So that's why I like to make sure that everything's laid out for you when you first come in. The second thing I want to know is kind of what's the schedule. I mean, how long is today? Do we eat? What time are we going to get done? So let me kind of walk you through the schedule a little bit. And that is, we'll start 7:30 to 5 today and tomorrow. And I start on time. I recognize a couple of things. One of the things I recognize that each of you made the choice to give up the opportunity to earn commission to come here today. And you also made the choice to take time away from your family. And I respect that. You came here on belief, just on faith that you're going to get something of value. And my goal today, and I only have one goal, today, tomorrow, and Friday, is that you walk away with at least one concept that you will go back and use. So with that in mind, I will start the classes on time, 7:30 today, 7:30 tomorrow, 7:30 Friday. Now, here's the schedule for Friday. We'll vary a little bit on Friday. Today, we're going to finish at 5. As we close out the day, those of you who have questions or want to stay behind and interact with anything, I'll be happy to stay as long as you want to talk about stuff. There's a computer lab back here, so if you need help online, if you need help downloading any information, going to the training site, we can do that at either the breaks or we could do that at the end of the day. And this is your room. I mean, what you guys do out in the field pays for this, so feel free to explore the room. So that's the schedule today and tomorrow. Does anybody have any questions about that? We'll take a break. Again, I go to a lot of training. I've been to a lot of training as an agent and a manager over the years. And I recognize that the mind can only comprehend what the rear can endure. Chuckle, chuckle. So I do take a break about every hour and 15 minutes. We'll usually take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back again. On Friday, what will be different is that we'll meet here at 7:15, and I applaud you guys that were here early this morning. I really appreciate that. We'll meet here at 7:15. We will leave at 7:30 and walk over to the home office on Friday. We will have breakfast at the home office, and then we're going to do a home office tour. And the tour involves taking you through the process that would happen for you as an agent when you write business. So when you write business, when you write your first piece of business and you turn it in at your local office, what is your manager going to do with that piece of business? Off into the black hole, right? He's going to mail it to the home office. So where do you think I'm going to start you guys off at on Friday morning?
The mailroom.
In the mailroom. Good, give it up, dude. Look at this. We got some high fives right off the get-go. We're going to start you off in the mailroom because it's important to understand how the mail is received. American Republic Enterprise owns a number of companies and other distributions. So they receive about 10,000 pieces of mail a week in that mailroom. So it's important to understand how that mail comes in. Then we're going to take you to entry, because if your business isn't entered properly, then you don't get what? Commissions, money, honey. And then we'll go to scanning, so you can see your business actually scanned into the computer system. Then we'll go up to underwriting, so you can have a chance to visit with underwriters and see how the business is underwritten, have them talk to you. Then we're going to go to agency, who will support your business once it gets issued. So your commissions and business cards and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll come back over here. Does that make sense? I do ask you, again, I recognize that each of you gave up the choice, or each of you made the choice to give up the opportunity to make a commission to come here. And you did that just based on faith. And you gave up the time with your family to come here. So I won't disrespect your time by receiving phone calls, and I would appreciate if you do the same for me. Everybody put your phone on vibrate or turn it off or however you need to do that. So that's kind of the schedule. Here's what we're going to do. In your books, if you'd be nice enough to open up your 3-ring binder, that's the material we're going to go through today. On the left-hand side is a registration form. If you'd be nice enough to complete that and pass it forward, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is I want to be able to communicate with you personally as we go forward. So I want to have some contact information for you. And the second reason is I want to make sure that your name is spelled correctly. So if your name on the name tag in front of you isn't spelled correctly, that we got that name off the registration form your manager filled out and sent in. So I just want to make sure that the name's spelled correctly. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out these gift cards. Because another question you have when you come in for a 3-day training like this is, how do you do the food? So we tell you in the welcome letter we do continental breakfast here. If you want a full breakfast, you should eat it before you come here. But we'll give you a $75 gift card, and that will give you the opportunity to buy your lunch and dinner today and tomorrow. And then Friday, your breakfast will be taken care of. Continental breakfast in here Wednesday and Thursday, and breakfast at the home office on Friday. All I would ask you to do when you get this, and I'm going to pass it out in just a second, is at the top of this, if you'd be nice enough to write your name on here, tear it off, and then pass that back forward for my record keeping. Is that fair? So I'll give you just a couple of minutes to complete that and send it back in. Well, you really got that hand going there, don't you? Give me my money, honey.
Hey, you can hold up, don't worry. You're Lloyd.
All day.
Are you an employee of American Republic?
That's a good question. That's step 1, and I'm on step half. When I get to step 1, if I haven't answered that, you let me know, okay? Now, I'm going to cover that in just a second for you. Did I get everybody? Well, at the break, you can do that. Yeah, you don't do that now, but
that's what I meant.
Yeah, you call the 800 number, and you'll push number 1 for English, number 2, and then you'll enter your activation number, and then it'll ask for the 3-digit code on the back. You'll enter that, and then you'll push 1 to activate it. So it's just that top portion. If you would just tear that off and give that back to me, I would appreciate it. No, I just want your name on it. If you just write your name across the top of it, I would appreciate it. Works for me. This is all the housekeeping stuff I have to have during my $1.95 a week.
About $2.98.
Oh, you brought business with you? Huh, how dare you do that? What makes you think we want business? Oh, that's our job. Oh, okay. See if we can't work that out for you. Come up to me at the break, would you please? Everybody have the registration form? That's compliance. I don't need that. What's this? Oh, okay. Could you bring that to me at the break? Because if I mix it in with this, I'll forget. You'll get charged. You'll tell your manager. He'll call me and complain, and I'll have to pretend I care. Right now, I do care.
When is
that
the
bad?
time to ask a question about underwriting? I've already turned in business, but I have a question about underwriting.
Well,
when you're there Friday, right?
Well,
as we get,
I don't know if it's appropriate to ask while we're there or.
you can ask it during the class.
Okay.
You can ask it at one of the breaks.
I had a question about what they did to me on a deal and why it was handled that way.
Okay. Well, you can come to me at the break if it's about an individual case.
Well, it would be a general question, the way it worked out. I mean, can I ask you now?
Yeah, go for it.
It's real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they called me because I turned in an application, and they said the guy told them he was 6'1" and 300 pounds, just guessing at his weight. So they said, well, it's declined because of his weight. Well, but they didn't tell me over the phone he's within 3 pounds of being accepted.
Okay. What's your question?
Which I didn't know. Why wouldn't the person that called me say, you know, it sounded over the phone, because the guy wasn't sure what his weight was, he guessed at it. Why wouldn't the underwriter say, you know, if there is a way this man can verify his exact weight, we might be able to, you know, it was almost like they were trying to decline him and not trying to help me or figure out a way to maybe get the guy accepted. That was my question.
So your question is, why did they tell you that on the phone?
No. Why didn't they say to me on the phone, well, he's within 3 pounds of being accepted?
I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue.
Is it not typically they would do that?
I don't have a clue why they told you that, but that's an individual case, so what we need to do is at the break, come up to me, I'll get the person's name, and then we'll look into it.
Well, I don't remember who it was who called me, but...
Okay. Do you want me to look into it?
No, I mean, I just was wondering how I guess the general question is when underwriting calls about a situation, are they going to help you try to figure a way to get them done, or are they just...
Well, I can answer your question in a couple of ways. One is, if they don't issue business, they don't have a job. So my guess is they probably want to issue business. My guess is. And number two, I can't answer your question because it's an individual situation. Come up to me at the break. I'll get a little information from you. We'll look into it.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So here, let's see. I told you about the material. Told you about the survey. Is there anything else I forgot? Anything else I need to add into this? Any questions I haven't covered? Yes, sir. Are you going to be nice to me? Okay. Don't be nice to me now. If you're nice to me, say you'll be different than you were last week, and I'll have to be mean to you. A couple of these guys, I met with them last week to do some training. Yes, sir.
I wasn't being too mean.
No, you were good.
I was testing you a little. When we came in, Ed told us to go into the parking garage across the street.
At the home office, yes.
No, across the street from the Marriott. We didn't realize it was, fee for service.
So what you're saying is that you're paying to park over there?
No, I got out of it.
Okay.
But I did.
Did you get the welcome letter that we sent out?
I did.
And did you notice in the welcome letter it said park at the home office?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So here's kind of what happened. See, this guy went to the doctor and said, "Doctor, it hurts when I do this," and the doctor said,
Don't do that.
"Don't do that." Yeah. So the welcome letter said park at the home office, and then you don't have to pay. So where are you parked right now?
I'm at the home office parking.
Give it up.
All right.
Check it out. Yeah. Right on. All right. Well, again, the good thing about things that getting messed up is, it clearly represents job security for somebody until I complain, and I will complain. Anyway, all right. Welcome aboard. Did we cover all the housekeeping stuff? The restrooms are right here. There's 2 of them. They're unisex. So, guys, lift the lid, aim, and be considerate, right? Right, ladies? All right. There are also, if you go out the door and turn to your left, curve around right next to the Mexican restaurant, which is really, really, really good food, there are public restrooms out there. So we have coffee here, and the way you make the coffee, what do you all infer from that? What do you infer from that?
Please. We make
You stepped in what? The way you make the coffee is as you do this, okay? You open a bag. Green is decaffeinated. Yellow is regular. You open the bag. You empty the used one in the trash can. You put the new one in here. Put that back in, and you push the brew button. Who can see themselves doing that? Okay, good. Now you're assigned to do that. Because I have the class to do the coffee. The drinks, if the refrigerator runs low, I'll try and keep an eye on it and keep it filled up. But if for some reason I fail at that job, the water's down here, and the soda's down here, and feel comfortable filling it back up. Okay? Is that good? We will do snacks. So later on this morning, I'll set the snacks out for you. If you don't like what's in there, then you can open the cabinet and get some other snacks, all right? Because, again, this is about you. What you do out in the field helps pay for all this. But at the same time, we're a team, so we have to keep the room moving. They didn't assign me someone to clean up and do the coffee and all that, so we want to work as a team. Is that fair? All right. Okay. So is there any other housekeeping stuff we need to do? Anything I haven't answered for you you'd like to know about? All right. Well, let's kind of get started here. My name's Lloyd Lofton. I gave everyone my business card. This is my cell phone number. I travel a lot, like almost every week. So while my business card has my desk number on it, my office number on it, for example, today if you were to call me right now at 7:45 and you called my desk, what do you think might happen?
Might get transferred to your cell phone.
You might get my voicemail. You probably wouldn't get transferred to my cell phone, but you might get my voicemail. So if you want to get me, you would call my cell phone. My encouragement would be to call my cell phone first. Now, if you call my desk phone and I don't answer, I don't call you back within an hour, I'm probably not in the building. So I would encourage you to call my cell phone. But I will call you back by the end of the day. I don't take calls when I'm doing trainings like this, but at breaks I'll check my messages. At lunch and at the end of the day I will call you. You can also email me. The advantage of emailing me, and what I would encourage you about emailing, what are some of the things you would call me about? Well, you might have questions about prospecting, handling objections, running your business, any other kind of questions that I can be of assistance with. If you email me, the advantage to you is that I can forward your email to other people that will help me get things done for you. So while I'll take your phone call, and you're welcome to call me whenever you need to, if it's something you need handled, like something was sent out to you, you need to check on underwriting or check on something, if you email me, even at one of the breaks, I could forward it to somebody who could handle that for me. Okay? Yes, sir.
Is there a dot between Lloyd and Austin?
There's a dot between there. Now, I'm Caesarean, so that's probably why you can't see it. But if you look on the,
I'm blind.
if you look on the business card, it's also there. I didn't just walk over here and hand you a business card? Okay, you've been here 5 minutes and you're already starting to be a problem, buddy.
I know, I am. That's what they're teaching for.
Huh? Okay, both of you are going to be a problem, huh? I see. All right.
It doesn't exactly look like that.
All right. So now you're complaining. So, see, that's the next thing I was going to say to you. We're going to talk about a couple things. I'm going to start writing. And as I get done with this, I am going to ask you guys to tell me what industry you think I should have worked in. Although some of you might already start having an opinion. Anyway, so again, I said I appreciate you being here. I recognize that you gave up the choice to not make a commission today, tomorrow, and Friday by coming here, and that you came here on faith, just on the belief that you'd get something of value. I also recognize that you left your family. And as a result of that, I want to make sure that I treat your time with respect, but I want you to do the same thing. This is an interactive class. This is not about me. This is about you. When I go to trainings, I'm not really interested in hearing how wonderful and bright and intelligent and successful the idiot up front is. I want to know what he's done specifically that I can go back and do and make money on. Does that make sense? So as a result of that, I want to make sure that you ask questions. My view of training is it's more important that you find out what you need to know, what you want to know. In other words, that buzzword. When I go to trainings and I'm sitting there, I'm usually kind of listening for that buzzword, you know, that one idea, that one concept, that one thing that makes sense to me, the thing I can see myself doing. So while I'll listen to everything that's being said and I'll be polite, you know, the head nodding, once I hear that buzzword, I tend to go, oh, right? So this isn't about me being right. This is about you finding a concept that will work for you. Consequently, I don't think that there's a right way to sell. I don't necessarily think there's a wrong way to sell. I think there's a way to sell that you will find that will work for you. You won't find me one of those kind of people who says, oh, well, that doesn't work, or you shouldn't do that. The only way I know if you should do something is if you get the results you want. So I'm a very results-oriented person. As a result of that, I expect you to challenge me. It's okay to say, hey, I don't agree with that. I can't see myself doing that. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm good with that. Because the truth is, and you'll find that I'll tell you what I think the truth is. I'll tell you the goods and I'll tell you the bads of the business. So that you can leave here well-informed, and you can leave here on Friday having a concrete idea of how you're going to run your business. And everybody knows that you're in business for yourself, right? It's a straight commission job. Okay, make sure that secret's out on the table. In fact,
Big salary they told me about, we don't get.
well, we were going to give it to you.
Oh.
But then you put me on the spot about underwriting. We said, well, you guys not getting crap from us. Just kidding. Chuckle, chuckle. Now, I do intend on having fun here, guys. So, you know, I would encourage you to have fun. If you don't have fun, I'm still going to have fun. So, the point of this is about you. It's not about me. It's about you coming out of this with one concept that you will go back and use. So I do expect interaction. I ask a lot of questions. We'll get up and do some role playing. So if if your personality is the kind that you don't really want to participate, this probably won't be a good class for you. But other than that, I think we're going to have a pretty good time. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was hired in November of 2002 as an agency manager with American Republic in Knoxville, Tennessee. I started in the insurance business in 1977 with John Hancock in Alton, Illinois. Who knows where Alton, Illinois is?
Where?
Did he really say where? Alton, Illinois. It's right across the bridge from St. Louis. And it was a debit company. In fact, all the insurance companies, the big boys, were debit companies. Who knows what a debit company is? A debit company is, they would assign you a book of business. Like, for example, they would assign you an area, and say a $100,000 book of business. And you only got commissions on the increase. So if you wanted to earn, what they did is they took the renewals and they divided it. And every 13 weeks you got a check for the same amount for that 13 weeks. And then the next quarter you would get based on that division. But you only got commissions on your increase. So if you had a $100,000 book of business and 10,000 fell off, what did you have to do? You had to write 10,000 more to keep your pay the same, right? But you only got commission on the increase. Now, what do your customers tend to do throughout the year to you?
Probably cancel.
Yeah, they're rude. They die, they cancel, they move away. Right, yeah. So if you had a $100,000 book of business, 10,000 fell off, you'd have to write that 10,000 to keep your pay the same. And then you'd have to write a plus in addition to that to actually earn a commission. Does that make sense? So that was kind of the old days. Anyway, I did that for about 3.5 years. I left there as a sales manager, went across the bridge to St. Louis with Combined Insurance Company. Anybody heard of Combined Insurance Company? That's the best, in my opinion, the best training ground there is. That's the old door-to-door way. So I was a field trainer with them. So what would happen is Christy, you would go to the 2-week sales training school. You know, these guys got a great attitude, and I'm going to be kind of commenting on them over the next couple of days. I'm in here yesterday morning. I'm that type A personality. I'm the guy that, you know, you show up, your work starts at 8 o'clock, and I'm the guy that's there at 6:30. So I was here yesterday morning about 6:45. I'm over here working on the presentations and stuff at 7:30, and these two guys come walking in. Oh, by the way, just to get all the questions out of the way, I had polio when I was a kid, and I've had a lot of surgeries. That's why I limp. I'm not limping because I was out drinking last night. Now, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be limping because I was out drinking last night. I'm just not limping today because I was drinking last night. Okay, so they come walking in here, and you know, just very ready to get going, and I look up like, can I help you? Because a lot of times when I'm in here, people, you know, they don't know what we are, and they walk in by mistake, and they say, well, we're here for the school. Huh. Probably won't be a very exciting school today because it's tomorrow. They got kind of some misinformation, but anyway. So where was that? Oh, so I'll do that a lot. I kind of wander around. So I started with Combined Insurance Company. Christy would come out of the 2-week sales school, and I'd get a phone call that says, here's your new crew. And we worked as a crew. So I might like have all of you assigned to me. We'd work at a crew. So I would call Christy, and I would say, hey, Christy, Lloyd Lofton, I'm your field trainer. I need you to meet me in Mexico, Missouri on Sunday night at Motel 6 at 7 o'clock. And then on Monday morning, we'd have our sales kickoff meeting at 7 o'clock. And you would give me your numbers, how many policies you were going to write that day. And then I would take everybody in my van, and I would drive you over to this part of town. I'd say, this is 7-Eleven. I'm going to pick you up here at noon. And then I'd drive you all the way over to this part of town, and I'd drop you off. Now, between 8 o'clock and noon, what did you have to do? Yeah, you had to get over there if you wanted to be picked up at noon. Now, what if you had to go to the bathroom?
Bush.
You had to get indoors. You got really good at getting indoors because unless there was a store in that neighborhood somewhere, that's what you had to do. So anyway, when I came to American Republic, I was a broker. I had been with Mutual of Omaha, and I had left them and become a broker. And in fact, the way American Republic even found me, because I was recruited here, was a friend of mine worked for another company. He wasn't happy, and he put his resume on Monster. And my wife was friends with his wife. And his wife kept telling my wife, Lloyd should put his resume on Monster. And I kept telling my wife, but well, why? Are you not happy with what I'm doing? Am I not making enough money for you? And she said, make more money, right? Yeah. For some reason, wives never think we make enough money. Darn thing. So I said, well, how about this? If I put my resume up on Monster, will you leave me alone? So I put it up on Monster, and not 2 weeks later, someone from American Public called me. So I got recruited in November of 2002. I took over the agency office on December 1st. Now, at the time, that week I was waiting for my agent number to come through. I went into the office, excuse me, and it was an interesting office. We had 14 agents assigned to it. They hadn't had a manager in 6 months. I only had contact information for 2 of the agents, one of which never called me back. The other agent, when I called him and told him I was having my first meeting, he said he'd be glad to come to the meeting, glad to have the support, but where was the office? This guy's going to be a real winner. I'm building my retirement on this guy. So anyway, the first week of December, I came to Des Moines for a week. Now, when I came to Des Moines, where there was 38 offices at the time, and I'm proud to say the Knoxville office was 38. It was on the bottom of the totem pole. So I came to Des Moines that first week for a manager's training for the whole week. They flew me in on Sunday, and I went back on Saturday. So the whole week I'm there. And then the second week I was there, did some recruiting. The third week was Christmas. So how many people worked at Christmas time? Right, no, nobody worked at Christmas. And the fourth week was the week after Christmas, and I did some recruiting. And then the first week in January of 2003, I went to Charlotte, North Carolina for a manager's training. And the second week of January of 2003, I was brought to the home office. Now, during that period of time, I had gone to Charleston and done an annuity and long-term care training for the regional who had hired me a couple of times. And someone from the home office had come to my office to watch the training. So when I left the manager's training here the second week, have I got y'all confused yet? It was an interesting 6 weeks. The second week of January of 2003, I left on a Wednesday, got home, and I got an email with a job description that said, would you be interested in the Assistant Director of Sales Training for American Public? So I ended up moving to the home office. Now, it sounds impressive to say you were manager of an office, right? But we were 38 out of 38. There was one agent I could find, and he didn't know where the office was. And we ended December 15th in the country, and 2 of my agents were the top 10 life agents in the country. Now, does that sound good? Okay, but the truth is I'm an idiot. I didn't really do anything. I picked up the phone. I called a bunch of agents I knew. I knew they were unhappy. I said, you need to quit and come over here. They came over and they wrote business. So sometimes what you think you know isn't what you know. But I do have a lot of history. So I've trained a lot of people, and my experience is that you will probably do what you will do. So I got a little disclaimer I want to say, and then I want to kind of get an idea of your background. I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but in my experience, if I go to a training or I go to a meeting somewhere and there's a number of people in the room like there are here, I think, in your personal life, do you have friends and associates that are kind of based on common interest? You know, like things that you have in common. People like the same. Have you ever noticed in life that people who agree with your opinion, you tend to like and think, gee, that's a pretty sharp guy. And people who don't agree with you think, he's an idiot. So we tend to have our friends and associates are based on commonalities, things that we have in common. I think it's reasonable, at least from my perception, I realize I could be messed up, that you could be in a room like this with a number of people, and it would be normal for there to be at least one person in this room that wouldn't see me as, like your cup of tea. I mean, most likely between today and Friday, there's something I'm going to say or do, the way I phrase something, the way I come across, my delivery, that could be, bothersome or annoying to somebody. And I recognize that because I don't necessarily get along with everybody. Here's what I would ask you. First of all, I would apologize for that. I would apologize to each of you for however I come across that you might find offensive. And I would ask you to forgive me and set it aside. This is about you, not about me. So I would ask you to listen to the content, not the delivery. Find that one concept that you will go back and make money on. And then if you would just be nice enough to overlook everything else. Could we do that? Would we agree on that? Okay. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to kind of go around the room. Now that I've given you a little bit of an idea of my background. Now, I just want you to know you're going to get really good training here. Now, when I was hired as a manager, who heard of American Public before you came on board? Okay, a couple of people. Who knew it was a health insurance company? Okay, it shows you how stupid I was. I had no idea. fact, I was here for a couple of weeks, went to a manager's meeting. There was a VP of the company there, and I said, is American Republic an insurance company that also sells health insurance, or is it a health insurance company that also sells other insurance? And he said, well, we're a health insurance company. You know, I mean, his whole body was like, what are you, an idiot? You took the job and don't know what we do? Okay, well, I'm a husband, so obviously I'm an idiot. You don't believe me, ask my wife. So at the break, I called my wife, and I said, I'm in trouble. Because I didn't sell health insurance. I sold maybe 4 or 5 group policies a year. Well, that's not true. Actually, I didn't sell it. I had a friend of mine I called up. We'd go out together, and we'd split the business. So I didn't really know a lot about health insurance. So that should give you a lot of confidence. You're going to learn a lot today. So I just want to kind of get an idea of your background. And here's the 3 things I want to know from you. How long have you been with American Republic? And I have people that have been here for 1 day, and people have been for a year, whatever it is. How long have you been with American Republic? What industry you were in before you came in the insurance industry? So sometimes people will say, well, I've been in insurance for 15 years. I was a P&C agent. Okay. Well, what industry were you in before you got insurance? Does that make sense? So whatever you did before you got, well, this is the only job I've ever had. I was in college before that. Well, then that's what you did before you got insurance. Okay. So whatever you did before you got insurance, and then the one thing you want to get out of here. In other words, when you heard you were coming and you packed and you drove or you're on the plane, in your mind, most of us were thinking, well, gee, I hope I learned something about prospecting, writing a business plan, handling objections, presentation. Now, this is a sales training. It's not product training. We will discuss product as it relates to making presentations. But most of us have some one thing that we kind of have an issue with, building our confidence, whatever it is. That one thing you want to get, I want to write that down. Can we do that? Is that fair? Dave, can I start with you?
Sure.
All right. So how long have you been with American Republic?
1 month.
1 month, all right. And what industry were you in before you got here?
Healthcare.
Healthcare?
Delivery and finance.
And that means, what did you do?
I worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield for 16 years.
Oh, did you?
As manager of Medicare and Medicaid and underwriting and actuarial.
Okay, well, that's who you ask your underwriting questions to. No, just kidding.
And a couple years with Eli Lilly.
And so how did you, sales, I mean, I understand the healthcare and the underwriting, but how do you get involved in sales?
I've teamed up with an elder lawyer, and her and I, of course, address senior needs, and all of a sudden it became obvious that some senior products would be a very good complement to our services, and so I started on the insurance route.
Okay. So before you were doing the insurance, what were you and the elder lawyer doing with people?
She, of course, was writing wills and power of attorneys and trusts and healthcare powers, and I was addressing government benefits such as Medicare and Medicaid.
Oh, okay. So like as a consultant?
Exactly.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, that brings some good experience to the table. What's the one thing you'd like to get out of here? What's the one thing you like to, on Friday when you walk away, you think, okay, I got that answer.
Gaining more confidence, sales approach, having never been a salesman before, I think I could do that.
Well, I appreciate you having the courage to say that in a room full of strangers. A lot of guys, we have egos, and I think confidence is a big issue. And we're going to discuss, in fact, a lot of this morning is going to be centered around that whole concept of confidence. Because it's kind of like making phone calls. If one of the ways you're going to prospect is making phone calls, the very first phone call you make, we're usually pretty excited and pretty motivated, and it comes across in our voice. And if you make 20 phone calls and you don't get an appointment, and you make 40 and you don't get an appointment, how well is your delivery on the 51st phone call? And that's kind of the key, is to sustain that same level of delivery from the first to the 51st one. And having confidence in what we're doing probably plays more of a role, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I appreciate you sharing that. Gail, how long have you been with American Republic?
I've been with American Republic about 7 months.
Woo.
I worked in the trucking industry before that.
Do you mind if I ask what that means?
I was office manager for a 50-unit trucking company, ran 48 states.
Oh, my gosh. So you're used to things not going right?
I'm used to numbers. I did all the payroll,
Okay.
taxes. I'm a numbers person.
Well, got insurance. What a match for you, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. And what's the one thing you'd like to walk out of here with? The one thing you want to know the most about?
There's a lot of things I need help with.
Well, I don't know if I'm that intelligent, so
Never
what would one
having
thing be?
been in sales
Okay.
like this before. I think one of the things I have the hardest trouble with is not feeling like I'm nosy when I'm asking them for personal information.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
It's very hard, once I get the appointment, I'm never sure what questions are going to be appropriate and what are going to make them angry.
Right.
I know I need answers to all of them.
I can understand that. And is part of that the sense that what are they going to think if I ask this?
Yeah, are they going to think that I'm just being nosy, or are they going to think that I need this information to give
Okay.
them the best quote I can?
Right. And that has, ironically, could that have an effect on your confidence in the way you ask questions? Yeah. It's funny how that red line kind of runs through for all of us. Well, I think we can help you with that. In fact, we're going to discuss some of that this morning, but as we go through the next couple of days, we're going to talk a lot about that. The interesting thing about questions is what do you think the purpose of questions are?
Find out information. Act fine.
Questions gather information. And we'll discuss some of the concepts. I'm real big on words. I like to make sure I understand what you meant by what you said, and I like to convey to you what my understanding was. Now, what you meant may be different than what I heard you say. So words are important, but we'll talk about asking questions, and I think we can help you with some of that. William or Bill? Which Bill? Okay.
I've been with the company over a month.
Okay.
And I've been in the insurance business for about going on 3 years.
Okay.
Before that, I was in the mortgage business for 8 years, both as a loan officer and as a sales manager. And before that, in the healthcare field for 15 years.
What did you do in healthcare?
Sold medical equipment to nursing homes and hospitals, traveled worldwide, nationwide.
Oh. So you have a little inside knowledge of how those systems work.
You mean the systems that I sold?
Well, like nursing homes and, yeah.
Basically, we sold lifting and bathing and lifting equipment,
Oh.
primarily in the handicap.
Okay.
And, been selling since I was 10 years old,
So
I'm an old pro.
dominant buying motives for seniors and issues that may affect the benefits they get from Medicare supplements, long-term care, those type of policies, you'd be able to relate with.
Very little health insurance.
Right.
Some health insurance, but very little, mostly specializing in the senior market when it comes to final expense, supplements, also the Medicare Advantage plans, Part D
Okay.
program. Basically, I'm not bragging, but I'm an expert in that. We've had so much training in that, it's unbelievable.
Right. Well, good. I don't think it's bragging to say what you're confident in.
Well,
You should be,
just-
yeah.
Well, I mean, because of the nature of the beast, that you got to go to. Every company has more and more training on all that because of
Right.
problems that have developed from unethical salespeople. So
Right.
they make you train more and more.
And what's the one thing you'd like to get out of here?
Well, to learn a little more about how some of the sales skills will work in when it pertains to health insurance. I've sold some of it, but not, that wasn't my main.
It's not how you paid your bills.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can do that. Christy, can I go up to you?
Sure.
How long have you been with American Public?
Approximately 5 months.
Okay. And what industry were you in before?
PNC for 6 months and telemarketing before that.
Okay. So does telemarketing mean that you're comfortable on the phone?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So one of the ways you may see yourself prospecting would be to make phone calls, make appointments?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the one thing you'd like to get out of this?
Motivation.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask what you mean by motivation?
I tend to get too comfortable when I have a sale, and I
Ah.
lose the motivation of getting the next sale.
Yeah, and what do most salespeople do as soon as you make a sale? Go home, right? Yeah. But when are you at your best? When's the best time to make a sale? Yeah, right after you make a sale, because your senses are up. You're reading body language, you're hearing voice inflection, you're noticing the buy-in signals. But most of us, as soon as we make a sale, we tend to do what?
Take off.
Yeah, take off, go home. Yeah. So, well, we'll talk about motivation, and as we go through this morning, you know, motivation's kind of an interesting issue. I would consider any training I did to be a failure, in my opinion, if when it's over with, people walked out and said, gee, I'm really motivated. And I'll tell you why. I know it seems kind of weird, but is motivation a fact or a feeling? If you feel motivated about something, is that a fact or a feeling? Feeling, okay. And do you feel, are feelings a result of some kind of interaction or reaction to something or someone, Frank, would you say? Okay. So here's my concern. If as a result of your interaction in this training over the next 3 days, you leave with the feeling of being motivated, what happens next Thursday at 7:15 at night when you've made 4 presentations and you haven't got a sale? And the stimulus, the reason that you felt motivated, which is the interaction in the class today, is not there. Then what happens to motivation? Kind of goes, right? So the reason I kind of, remember I said I like words? What I hope when I do a training is that people walk out inspired. And here's what I mean by inspired. A commitment, in my opinion, this is my definition, doesn't have to be yours, but a commitment is what you do long after the feeling you had at the time you made the commitment has left you. Does that make sense? So the reason I'm interested in the one thing that you want to get out of this is because my experience is, if that's your issue, and we help provide you enough information, or help you come up with one concept regarding that issue that you will go back and do, will you be motivated to do it, or will you be inspired to go do it? Inspired. So I would hope that you would walk out inspired to go do one thing. And just do it long enough. You know, scientifically they say if you do something for 27 days, it becomes a habit. So, I believe we'll be able to help you with motivation, but more important, I'm hoping we can move motivation to inspiration so that once you pick up whatever that one thing is going to be for you, that you will do it. And I'm going to use that word a lot over the next few days because will is very important. I hate going to trainings where they say, you have to do it this way. You have to make phone calls this way. You have to use a script. You have to present this way. Because I understand what straight commission means. And what a straight commission means. What does that mean to you guys? Yeah, that means I don't have to do it that way. You may want me to do it that way, and I might be socially appropriate. You know, in the office I'm going, and I'm thinking, you're an idiot. I'm never doing that. And when I go out in the field, what am I going to do? I'm going to do exactly what I'm going to do, right? So, for example, I'm a door knocker. Now, I can do the phone. I'm pretty good on the phone, and I teach phone clinics. But for my personal life, when I sell, I'm a door knocker. I'm going to go door to door. So if you hire me and you say, okay, the only way you can succeed in this business is you have to make phone calls, I'm going to look at you and go, and then what am I going to do when I go back home? I'm going to go knock on doors, yeah. Now, my guess is if I have production, you're probably going to say what?
Good job.
Okay. But so I would not come across to you and say you have to do it this way. But my guess is that you're going to go back and you're going to do what you will do. And that's why, again, I say this isn't about me. You're not interested in hearing how wonderful I am. You're interested in hearing a technique or a process or some procedure that I did in the past that you could see yourself doing and make successful for you. Does that make sense? Okay, the lecture's over. Tony or Anthony?
Tony.
All right. How long have you been with American Republic?
2 months.
And what industry were you in before?
I did heavy equipment operating.
Ooh. Do you ever watch that on cable where they do the heavy equipment stuff and they got the diggers with wheels that big? You know, my son and I are sitting there looking and boy, we'd like to run into a house with that sucker. Oh, right. Chuckle, just kidding. We never really do that. Well, maybe not. And what one thing would you like to get out of this?
Better on the clothes.
The clothes. What's kind of interesting about the clothes Well, I think the close is a close is an issue for a lot of people. And what's interesting about the close to me is, in some ways, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but in some ways, if you've been in sales for more than a year or two, have you always kind of had the perception that the sale is like a stage? And that, for example, you're on the stage, you take a sales job, and that's the stage. And then the curtain goes up, and you're in the approach. And the curtain goes down, the curtain goes up, and you're in the qualification. The curtain goes down, the curtain goes up, and you're in the presentation. The curtain goes down, the curtain goes up, and you're in the close. Have y'all had that? And the truth is, the sale is just one fluid motion. And we'll talk a lot about the close. More of that tomorrow, although we're going to hit on a lot of it today, because there's actually a place where the close first occurs. And where do you think that is? The very first contact. The close begins at the very first contact. And once we get the concept that the close starts at the first contact and the sale process, in fact, one of the things I would encourage you guys to do is to get rid of, or suspend, not get rid of, because you won't get rid of something until you believe it. Suspend 2 thought processes. Suspend the concept, if you could, just for 3 days. You're welcome to go back to it on Monday, but for the next 3 days, suspend the concept that the product has anything to do with the sale. Because the product, and even product knowledge to some extent, has absolutely nothing to do with the sale. The truth is, if we do our job properly, the product that people, what's the word that we're going to use? The product that the people will buy reveals itself as a result of us doing our job properly. And the second thing I would encourage you, particularly if you're new, if you've only been here a month or 2 months, quit trying to make sales. In some ways, I think we make a mistake as an industry, maybe as a company, and we bring you guys on and talk about making a sale. And I know, I mean, I'm 53, but I can think back to when I first started insurance when I was 21 years old. I know that while my thought process is I need to make a sale, I knew that if I couldn't get in front of somebody that was willing to listen to me and had the ability to write a check, what would not happen? Yeah, I wouldn't get the sale. So, you know, we're going to train you. I'm going to train you in the order that I want you to do things. Because the most important thing for you to do is feel comfortable and confident getting in front of people. Forget the sale. If you make enough presentations, you'll trip over sales. And the good thing about the 21st century, you know, 2000 and beyond, is when I started in the insurance industry, we didn't have things like cell phones. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have MapQuest. We didn't have GPSs. We didn't have direct mail. We didn't have internet leads. We didn't even have telemarket leads. Excuse me. In fact, when I started in the insurance business, and I would go out to Mexico, Missouri, or Macon, Missouri, or Wentzville. If you haven't been to Wentzville, you need to go to Wentzville. I'd go to Wentzville, Missouri, and what I'd do is I'd go to the first Greasy Spoon restaurant I could find with my renewal cards. And did you know that back in 1977 there wasn't even FedEx? What we'd do is we'd find the brown truck. Who knows the brown truck? UPS. We'd find the UPS guy, and I'd buy him breakfast. Lay out my, because the renewal cards we had back then, and probably, I think it still happens today, the addresses would be like Rural Route 1, Box 15, turn right at the Green Barn, and left at the Broken Oak Tree. Anybody ever had directions like that? So, well, I'd buy the UPS guy biscuits and gravy, because the Greasy Spoon restaurants have really, really good biscuits and gravy. And he'd go through my cards, and he'd tell me where everybody lived. Or you become professionally lost. So sometimes, as soon as we become a highly trained licensed professional, we lose our ability to communicate as human beings. I like being professionally lost, because people tend to like to help people. You know, it empowers people to help them. That's why when you walk in a house or a business, if they offer you something to drink, you should never refuse it. They're opening up hospitality. You should never refuse that. Nobody says you have to drink it. Always take the drink. Anyways, but I'd go up to a door and say, "Can you help me out? I'm trying to find Bob Smith and Ella." And I'd had people bring me in their house. They got the map out. They're mapping my whole thing out. Huh, isn't that funny how that works? So, and how do we get on that subject there? The close. It's one. I do that a lot. Remember I told you? It's one fluid process, the sales process. So if you could suspend the concept of product or sales for the next 3 days, then I think you might be able to pick up that one concept you're looking for. Thank you for sharing that. Tony, right? Or Anthony? Okay, Anthony. How long have you been with American Republic?
Just over a month.
Okay. And what industry were you in before insurance?
I was a high-rise window cleaner.
Oh, what?
High-rise window cleaner.
Wow. So you got on one of those
scaffold things?
We did that. We just threw ropes over the side of the building sometimes. Sat on some wood boards. Went to town.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to a man. Give him a hand. Anybody that would throw a rope over the side of the building and drop down, this guy's going to prospect. I can tell you. I got a door-to-door guy on my hand right here.
There's no fear. There's no fear.
So, a rope, drop off the side of the building, go sell insurance. How did that happen?
Well, I started having seizures, and the last place you want to be when you have seizures is on the side of a building.
That would not be good.
Now, see, that kind of you ever heard the old saying, if common sense was common, you know, common sense, do you have common? If common sense was common, more people would have it. There's a guy with common sense. So you start having, did that pass? I mean, do you still have them? Or?
As long as I take medication for it, I'm okay. It's not
Okay.
epilepsy or anything like that. It's
Well,
actually kind of
excuse me. Yeah, between you and I, okay? Because they can't hear us in here. Okay. I had polio when I was a kid. So when I worked the senior leads, I have a cane, and I use that to go to the door, and I limp a little bit more. Yeah, so you know the seizures, we might talk about how that might work for you. No, I'm just kidding. And what's the one thing you'd like to get out of this? Where'd you come?
a little better at the cold call.
Ooh,
aspect of it, try to generate more leads for myself.
okay, good. Cold call, more leads. Yeah, it's a funny thing about this business. If we don't have someone to present our product to, that's called
No sale.
unemployed, right? That's kind of the misnomer in this business. You sit, you know, you do your pre-licensing study, you sit for the state test, and when you pass the state test, what do they give you?
Piece of paper.
They give you a piece of paper that says you are now a highly trained licensed professional. We take that paper home. We wake up on Monday morning. Damn, I've got my own business going here. Oh, I don't have any customers. How'd that work out? So yeah, we have to get in front of more people. And when you say cold calls on the phone, in person, how do you mean that?
Walk and talk on the phone, however.
Okay. Okay. What do you feel like you're going to be more comfortable with?
To be honest with you, I think I'm better in person than I am on the phone.
Somehow I knew that. Okay. Well, we'll kind of talk about all of it. You know, my experience is to build a career. And the difference between a career and a job, you know, J-O-B, Jackass the Boss, everybody had one of those jobs before, is the job is short term. And those are the people who are looking to go out and make a quick sell because when they signed up and they paid their $250, they could barely afford that. And if they don't get some money in the next week or so, they're going to be, you know the difference between broke and poor? So broke, you can still get credit. Poor, you don't even have credit. So the short termers are just looking for the quick buck. The long termers learn all the skills. But my suggestion is to pick one market, one lead type, one product, and one presentation and become proficient at that. I mean, I know we have a good portfolio of products, and back in your offices they talk about that, but the truth is, in my experience, I'm not saying it's true for you, but in my experience, if you can't pay your house payment and your car payment selling one product, the chances of you paying your house payment and car payment trying to learn all the products is going to be slim to none. So learn one market, one lead type, one product, one presentation, one close, and become proficient at that, and then add the other things on. So you may want to start off with walk and talk and develop your phone skills and your other marketing skills as you go along. Let's go with Michael.